Hi folks, and welcome to a MovieHooker YouTube video. This is part 3 of the best videos, or the best films, to stream on Shudder. As I said in the last 2 videos, this is for Shudder UK and Ireland only, but a lot of these films are going to be Shudder originals, so they're going to be available wherever you may be. So let me just get my article up here. Okay, the best films to stream on Shudder, part 3. Right, first up, we've got The Sadness. This is a movie by Rob Javis. You think it might be his feature-length directorial debut. This movie was funded partly by the Taiwanese government and also partly through his cam girl business that he has. The Sadness is quite extreme. You know, there's a lot more extreme out there. And you're probably going, Gary, what the fuck, or what are you on about? I have to stop cursing. What are you on about? There's very little out there that's as extreme as The Sadness, you know. But what I mean is that there's some scenes there in The Sadness where it just doesn't show you the gruesomeness in all its glory. It sort of cuts away and leaves it up to you to decide what went on, i.e. the thing in the eyeball towards the end. So for those of you who have been like sleeping under a rock for the last few years, The Sadness has been widely compared to Garth Ennis's Crossed, where it's like an infection, but you still have like your humanity. You still know who you are. You can still function as a normal human being. Well, I wouldn't say normal, but you know, you have a little bit of humanity there, as depraved as that humanity is. But it's about an infection that makes you act out your sickest, darkest desires, be it cannibalism, rape, murder. It's brilliant. And I just love the eyes. The pure black eyes are just a thing of terror for me. So that's The Sadness, guys. That's number 1. That's on the list. Next up, now this is an action movie, and I love Shudder because of this. Like this is, not only is this an action movie, this is one of the second best action movies there is in existence. There is absolutely nothing like this movie. This is called The Villainess, by the way. It's a South Korean action movie about a hit woman who she's an absolute killing machine. She was promised that she would be let go from the service that she works for after 10 years, but she's not, so she goes on a killing spree to claim her own freedom. What I would say about this movie is that when I say there's nothing like it ever, there's like, it's sort of a mix of like usual cinematic action style that we get, and then it's also like a POV action style as well, which we first seen in a YouTube video called Biting Elbows Bad Motherfucker. That's what you call it. I had to curse there. And also then the guy who made that video, Biting Elbows Bad Motherfucker, went on to make Hardcore Henry with Charlton Copley. So if you know that sort of action style, it's very nauseating, but oh my God, it is brilliant. Plus, I'm just going to say this very quickly. John Wick ripped off The Villainess. I never shut up about this, but as I always say, you can be inspired by, or you can absolutely just rip the piss out of it and rip something off. So what I'm on about is the motorbike scene in the tunnel with the samurai swords. It just makes me sick to my stomach to see it. Okay, so that's The Villainous. Next up is A Tale of Two Sisters. This is a creepy, supernatural, psychological horror from the writer of I Saw the Devil. The less you know about this, the better. So it's just basically about two sisters get out of a psychiatric unit, and they're in their house by their controlling evil stepmother and father. So that's all I'll say about that. Next up, we have Old Boy. This one needs no introduction. We all know Old Boy. If you don't know Old Boy, then I don't know. So anyway, a cap on Old Boy. A guy gets put in confined in a small sort of tiny bed sit, one room with nothing but a television and a bed. He's imprisoned for 15 years, I think, and then he's set loose and given a certain amount of time to figure out who imprisoned him, and more importantly, why he was imprisoned. There was a Spike Lee movie remade with Josh Brolin and Elizabeth Olsen but we'll just leave that there. So that's Old Boy. Next up is The Witch Part 1. This isn't, well, this does have elements of horror, I guess, like pure action horror. The Witch Part 1, The Subversion. And I've also added The Witch Part 2, the other one here as well, because both are available. But The Witch Part 1 is where it's at, while The Witch Part 2, I'll get to that in a second. So like The Witch Part 1's about this little girl. She's like a teenager and she goes on like the X Factor. And when she's on the X Factor, these like North Korean people see her and go, oh my God, this is the girl that we've been looking for. And yeah, you have to just find out why they've been looking at her for. She's an absolute killing machine. When she gets back her memory and everything clicks, she becomes an absolute fucking killing machine. Now, Part 2, I would always call this, it suffered a bit from Peninsula Syndrome, which I like to call it, is where a Part 1 of a South Korean movie does really, really well. Then in the second part, there'll be an introduction to American characters and American production companies also involved, so it's like, if this movie does good, then the Americans want a wee bit of that pie, so the Pusher trilogy, yes, this is another fantastic trilogy. This is also the directorial debut from Nicholas Winding Refn. That's what I'll say. Probably pronouncing that wrong. But not only that, this is our introduction to the great and the wonderful Mads Mikkelsen. It's like a Danish crime drug movie. Which the first one starts off with this guy just in drug debt and trying to sort it out, and he's in debt to these horrible guys. It's raw, it's gritty, and it's violent, and every single one of them are great. So next up, we have House at the End of Time. This was a random one that I watched one time, and I couldn't find anything to watch, and this is one of the ones where I seen the cover, and I was like, oh, I don't like the look of the cover. But this is really, really, really good. This is a great supernatural horror about a woman who has to go back into the house after getting released from jail for crimes that she committed in this house, and loads of supernatural stuff starts happening. So that's The House at the End of Time. Lady Vengeance, another South Korean action movie, and this is part of the Vengeance trilogy. I think it's Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, Old Boy, and then Sympathy for Lady Vengeance. And this is about a girl who gets wrongly imprisoned. She comes out of prison and she just goes and takes revenge. This is fucking masterful. Like, the whole trilogy is masterful. So this is South Korean revenge cinema at its best. And if anybody does revenge good, it's South Koreans. Next up, Sea Fever. Sea Fever was very Lovecraftian, quite a low budget film as well. And very interesting choice of a protagonist as well, to be honest. It's set in like this fishing trawler in Ireland, actually, I think. And it's about this scientist who's coming on board and she's looking for changes and differences. I'm not going to try the scientific words there, even though it's not a scientific word. But yeah, she's looking for like anomalies, I don't know, in fish. So, and then they come across this like parasitic, this parasite that's in the water that starts changing the people, and it's about all like the claustrophobic, the isolation, and then something is underneath the ship that is causing all of this to happen, and it is fucking unreal, the reveal at the end. So that is Sea Fever. You can also check that out on MovieHooker.com. There is a load of Lovecraftian movies, and Sea Fever is one of them. Next up is Hagazusa. Now, I will say straight away, this is going to be an acquired taste because it's very, very slow. Not only is it very, very slow, it's also, there's very little dialogue in it, and it's in German when we do have dialogue. It is a witch movie, and it is about this daughter and her young kid who are suffering, sort of going through the same changes that her mother did, which it's just absolutely horrible. It's beautifully shot. It's really, really, it's just it makes you feel very, very uneasy and uncomfortable. So that's Hagazusa. Next up is Nori, The Curse. This is a Japanese movie, right? And this Japanese movie is one of the best in the found footage. I recently revisited it again. And yes, it's just terrifying. This also had like a huge problem with distribution in Japan. But then Shudder bought it, and I think it's a Shudder original now. So it's basically about this curse and this documentary filmmaker who just is trying to document everything, and anybody who's ever been touched or affected by this curse. And it's just damn right creepy, and it just keeps going. It just keeps getting more tense and more creepy, and then it's pretty bleak then at the end. So guys, that is it for part 3 of my best films to stream on Shudder. I still have yet to write part 4, but I know there's still a lot of content on there I need to tell you guys about. So thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit the subscribe button, and thank you very much. Word up.